So, UFC Fight Night, Rafael Fiziev versus Mateusz Gamrot is upon us tomorrow evening, and we're going to break down some of the fights. I'm going to give you my predictions. We're going to talk about some of my favorite fights, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So, it's a pretty decent card. I think as UFC Apex cards go, I think it's pretty stacked. There's some pretty big name fights. We got Bryce Mitchell with Rafael Fiziev, Mateusz Gamrot, Dan Ige, those kind of guys. Charles Jourdain, he's not a huge name, but hardcore fans will know him. But the first fight we're going to get into on the card is Muhammad Usman versus Jake Collier. Now, this fight is, I think, they're just trying to build Usman up and kind of get rid of Collier. Collier's on a 3-fight skid, and he's 5-5 in the UFC before that fight. So he's not like someone that the UFC are looking to keep around, at all, really. So I think that they're trying to build Usman up and give him a guy who he beats, and then that guy is out of the UFC pretty much. Collier has lost his last 3 fights to Martin Buday, Chris Barnett, Andrei Arlovsky. So yeah, I think that they're trying to give Usman a couple wins, build him up. This is a guy who they can give to him, and then once he beats him, which I think he will, they're going to cut him because that'll be 4 losses in a row for Collier. Usman's on the rise. He's the tough winner. He won the heavyweight tough season. He beat Zach Pauga in the final. Usman is a decent prospect. He's coming off a win over Junior Tafa. One thing I do want to say about Usman, though, is he has a loss on the regional scene to Dante O'Mize, which is kind of suspect. I think it brings into question Usman's ceiling, because if you're losing to a guy like Dante O'Mize on the regional scene, what's a guy like Aspinall going to do to you if you try and crack into the top 5 of the heavyweight division? But this fight, though, is a complete level step below any kind of fight like that. And I'm going to pick Usman by unanimous decision, maybe even a finish if he's able to find one. I don't rate Collier that highly, and I think Usman's going to handle him pretty easily. The next fight on the card is Means versus Fialho. Now, Tim Means, he's no prospect. He's nothing close to a prospect. I don't even know if you can argue that Fialho is even a prospect anymore. He's kind of, any hype he had is kind of, done. But Tim Means has been in the UFC for a very long time. He's had over 20 fights in the UFC. He's a UFC veteran. He's currently on a 3-fight losing streak. So is Fialho, except all of Fialho's losses are knockouts. 2 of Means' losses are submissions, one of which is to Kevin Holland. I think that they're both in similar, unfortunately, they're both in similar places in their career. Tim Means on a 3-fight skid. Before that, he was on a 3-fight winning streak. He actually, in the middle, and he actually beat Mike Perry in that streak. So, he was doing all right for himself. Fialho had a bit of hype behind him when he came into the UFC. I believe he had, he knocked out James Vick, and then he came into the UFC, lost, and then he had 2 first-round knockouts in a row. And then now he's on a 3-fight knockout losing streak. So, the matchups, Jake Matthews, I don't think anybody expected him to get knocked out by Jake Matthews. But Muslim Salikov was a bad matchup. Joaquin Buckley wasn't a great matchup. I didn't think he was going to win that fight. So Fialho can be given the benefit of the doubt more so than Means can. I think the matchups are a little worse for Fialho. But I think that Fialho has powerful hands. He does have power in his hands. He does have the ability to KO someone if he lands on them. He does have good boxing, offensive boxing. His offensive boxing is pretty good. I'll give him that. He does have pretty good combos. He has decent punching. He just has pretty crisp boxing. And I think he will probably catch Means, probably in the first or early in the second. But I don't think he'll be able to. I don't know if he'll be able to finish him, because Means is a grizzled vet, and he's had almost 50 pro fights, and he's only been knocked out twice. So it's not like he's some guy getting chinned left, right, and center. He's not the next Cody No Chin Garbrandt. You know what I mean? He's a can, but it's not like he's not easy to knock out. And so I don't know if I can see Tim Means beating him Tim Means getting knocked out here. I don't know if I can see that, because he does have a pretty good chin, and he has pretty good durability. If we look at his whole career right now, he only has 2 knockout losses. Both of them were in the first round, so maybe that'll give Fialho the chance to maybe blitz him, you know what I mean, catch him early, and then that's it. So like that's how I could see Fialho winning is by first round KO if he's able to catch Means early and not even give him a chance to recover. But I feel like Means has good recovery, and it'll just be hard for him to knock him out. Means has underrated boxing. I think he could catch Fialho, especially because Fialho's boxing defense is like nearly non-existent. Like it's very bad. Like saying it's bad is an understatement. It's like some of the worst I've seen at the level he's at in the UFC. You know what I mean? It's not like he's a high level UFC fighter, but like he always goes for that check hook. Even if the guy's not even close to him, he just relies on that check hook, and it's like that's like his main defense. His ability to parry and block shots is like pretty terrible. He doesn't have any head movement at all. So like he's just not sound defensively. He's there to be hit. And it's not like Tim Means is some dog or like some like KO artist, you know what I mean? He's not, but he has decent boxing. So if you give him your chin on a silver platter like Fialho has been doing for the last 3 fights of his, he's been like, here's my chin, come knock me out. You know what I mean? If he does that again, then I feel like Tim Means is going to catch him and put him away. But if he can keep his chin tucked and actually not get hit full force directly on the chin like he's been struggling to do for his last 3 fights, then maybe, yeah, he could catch Means and finish him. But honestly, I'm going to pick Means to win this fight by decision. Maybe even round 2 TKO, because I think that Fialho is just insanely washed, and I think that Means has a good chance of beating him. The next fight I'm going to be talking about is Bryan Battle versus AJ Fletcher. I'm pretty excited for this fight. You know, I think it's a chance for Bryan Battle to show his skill set. I think it would also be a chance for AJ Fletcher to kind of, you know, remind guys, you know, okay, this guy Battle has a little bit of hype behind him. Maybe I can step in, show what I can do. You know, maybe I can get a win over this guy and make a little bit of a name for myself in the division. Because AJ Fletcher's 1-2 in the UFC. You know, he came into the UFC undefeated, lost to Matthew Semelsberger, lost to Angelusa, and now he just submitted Themba Gorimbo in his last fight. So, you know, he's not on the best run, but he's shown some pretty good skills in his fights. You know, I mean, he got out wrestled by Semelsberger, who is not a guy you want to be getting out wrestled by. You know, he's more of a striker trying to knock you out. So if he's out wrestling you, it shows that you have some holes in your game. It also you could argue that it shows that you have that aura on the feet where guys don't want to stand with you; they rather shoot with you. But I just think that I would argue that Semelsberger just saw the hole in his game and was like, "Why stand with this guy when I can just take him down?" You know what I mean? Both of Bryan Battle's recent wins, have come by way of sub 45-second knockout. He head kicked KO Takashi Sato in like 44 seconds, and he's just recently flatline KO'd Gabe Green in 10 seconds. Which was a pretty crazy win. I had him winning that fight, but I didn't have him winning it right that way. Gabe Green kind of just bum rushed him right out the gate, and then just got caught on the chin early and flatline KO'd. I mean, there wasn't really much to that fight besides that, really. Yeah. So I think that Battle has the edge in momentum. You know, he's going to be very confident in his abilities. He just knocked a guy out in 10 seconds. He is 4-1 in the UFC. But he's only losses to Ranat, who is a 20-2 prospect. Like, I don't hold that loss too badly. You know, that Ranat just dog walked Kevin Lee, who, you know, yeah, it was the ghost of Kevin Lee, but still, Kevin Lee, somebody, you know, where does he fit into all of this? Getting dog walked by the guy that Bryan Battle just lost to. I think that Bryan Battle has faced better competition, in my opinion. And at least for the most part, and in those matchups, he's passed with flying colors outside of the Renat match. You know, he beat Tresean Gore, who nowadays isn't that, like, people don't think of him that highly. But when he was fighting Bryan Battle, most of the people thought he was going to win that fight. And Bryan Battle went out there and beat him. You know, Bryan Battle went in and grappled Andrei Petrosky, and in the Ultimate Fighter, he submitted Andrei Petrosky in the Ultimate Fighter, which was a pretty good win because Andrei Petrosky, he hasn't lost since that fight on the Ultimate Fighter, and he's on a bit of a win streak in the UFC. I think he's on like a 3 or a 4 fight win streak. I think it's a 4 fight win streak just because of I forgot about the GM3 fight. But yeah, I think that Bryan Battle is going to have the advantage here. He's also a dangerous striker with a 10-inch reach advantage, so I think that he's going to knock out AJ Fletcher in the second or the third round. Yeah, that's going to be my official pick is Bryan Battle by TKO in the second or the third round, maybe even an early KO if Fletcher comes in two guns blazing and gets caught right in the chin. The next fight is the co-main event, Bryce Mitchell versus Dan Ige. Mitchell's 5-1 in his last 6, coming off a loss against Topuria, a pretty big loss, his first professional loss. Ige's riding a 2-fight win streak, but he's 2-3 in his last 5, having been on a 3-fight losing streak before that. Ige has been badly out-wrestled before, but it was by Movsar Evloev, who I hold on a higher standard than Bryce Mitchell personally, but still, he was badly out-wrestled by him, so I think that if Evloev's doing that to you, I think that Bryce Mitchell can out-wrestle you at least enough to win the fight by decision. Bryce has been outstruck before, but it was by Ilia Topuria, so it's in a similar situation, whereas Ige has been out-wrestled, but it was to Evloev, who's a bit better than Bryce, a good bit better than Bryce, and then Bryce has been outstruck by Ilia, who a much better striker than Ige. I think Ige has a lot of power in his hands, but in terms of technical boxing ability, I definitely give Topuria the advantage there. I think that, though, if Bryce can't set up his takedowns early and get Ige down, he will likely end up getting clipped and finished, but I do see him imposing his will on Ige, getting a 30-27 decision, similar to his win over Edson Barbosa, where it was like, okay, he's a problem, he has that dominant grappling style, that wrestle-heavy grappling style. I think that it's going to be a bad matchup for Ige, and I think it's going to be a win for Bryce by 30-27 unanimous decision. Now we move into the main event, Fiziev versus Gamrot. Now, Fiziev is a very fast and explosive striker with elite Muay Thai. I spoke about him in my previous video, talking about the best UFC matchups. I'm not going to try not to repeat myself too much, but yeah, he's a fast, explosive with elite Muay Thai. Gamrot is a crafty and relentless wrestler with very good scrambling ability. He has some of the most entertaining scrambling ability in the division in the UFC, I would argue. His fight with Arman Tsarukyan, the scrambles were crazy. His pace is crazy. His cardio is crazy. And he's a very good wrestler. Now, Gamrot has been very slightly more active, but he has had 2 very, very close fights, and he's lost another one. That's one thing I want to speak about in this video is Gamrot's past 2 wins have been very, very close, especially the Arman fight. Now, rewatching the Turner fight, I could it was a Gamrot win. It was clear enough, but that fight was still very close. Turner was having his moments. He dropped Gamrot, knocked him down. Those the Arman fight, he knocked him down once. I'm pretty sure he knocked him down again, but it wasn't credited. I haven't watched that fight back in a while, so I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Arman got a knockdown in that fight where it wasn't credited. So those 2 were very, very close fights. Even outside of that knockdown, the Arman fight was very, very close. And his fight with Beneil was supposed to be that big step up, the new lightweight, the new guard of lightweight, going to come in and kill everyone. Have yet to beat an old guard lightweight guy. You know what I mean? Gaethje beat Fiziev. Beneil beat the shit out of Gamrot like it was nothing. You know what I mean? Like it was his father playing with his son. You know what I mean? That fight wasn't close. And I think that's important to note is that even though Gamrot is 2-1 in his last 3, and those 2 wins are extremely close fights. You know what I mean? Fiziev had moments on the feet against Gaethje. I think in the first round he was winning, and even later in the fight he had moments. But especially in the first round, he looked good against Gaethje. It looked like he was outstriking him, but he was well beaten in the end when Gaethje adjusted and made some improvements to his game mid-fight. Gamrot is susceptible to shots on the feet. He's been dropped and he's been hurt multiple times throughout his fights. He got dropped badly by Beneil, put right in his ass. He was dropped by Turner. He was dropped by Tsarukyan. All these guys dropped him. Tsarukyan dropped him more than once. But one thing is he has shown ability to recover. He can recover very well. It seems like he's one of those guys where like a Charles Oliveira. He gets hit and he hits the mat and it kind of wakes him up. He's like, oh shit, like it's time to go. You know what I mean? it's almost like a wake-up call when he gets dropped. It's like, oh, fuck. Like, when he got dropped against Beneil, he gets dropped, and he literally, like, springs up into a double leg, kind of like Khamzat Chimaev against Burns. It's a good instinct to have as a wrestler. Once you get dropped, the second you hit the deck, you immediately get up and grab a hold of the legs. Like Ilia Topuria did that against Jai Herbert when Jai caught him with that head kick, put him down, like 30 seconds in. Literally immediately, Topuria's like gets hit. He's on the mat. He's like, oh fuck. He sits up like, where am I? And then he just instinct is to just grab a hold of Herbert's legs. And I think that is something that comes with the wrestling background. You know, like these guys that come from these wrestling backgrounds, I think that their instinct is to like, they come to on the ground, see, and then they just they instinctively go for the legs. And I think that Gamrot does that very well. So Fiziev will need to be careful when he drops him not to get taken down, because Gamrot is very good at that. Fiziev has only ever been taken down by RDA and Gaethje, and the Gaethje takedown was like a very unexpected takedown at the end of the fight. So like, obviously it counts as a takedown, but I don't hold that against him too much. The RDA fight, you know, RDA is a very crafty vet. You know what I mean? He's he's literally like the embodiment of a crafty vet. So like getting taken down by him isn't too bad. Obviously, like you would like to not get taken down by him, but like the fact he was able to get up from the takedowns and find the knockout kind of makes it less of a problem that he was taken down by him. But other than that, Fiziev's only ever been taken down by RDA and Gaethje in his UFC career, whereas Gamrot's been dropped in his last 3 fights. So it's like he keeps getting dropped. Like, when is someone going to finish him? You know what I mean? Like, when is someone going to find a home for that follow-up shot when Gamrot hits the deck? That's like, oh, it's over, you know, step in. But yeah, I think that Fiziev will find a home for that switch kick to the body early on, and that will set up that him stepping inside with maybe a hook to the body, then a hook upstairs, or catching Gamrot coming in with the lunging strikes, that those like Aljamain Sterling reaching in, striking. I think he might get caught on the chin doing that and finished either in round 2 or round 3. So yeah, that's my breakdown and picks for this card. I'll be dropping another video on Sunday of my reaction to this card, and then in the coming week I'll have another video or 2 out. Monday to Friday I'll have probably 2 videos out, another breakdown next Friday, and then hopefully a random video in between Sunday and next Friday for you guys too. So yeah, leave a like, comment what you guys thought of my breakdowns, my picks, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.